Chapter 1. The Men in Black Wolf Cemetery looked different in February rain. I'd been here 3 times since Mom died, once for the funeral. Once, because I couldn't sleep. And now, exactly 6 weeks later, because the grief counselor said rituals helped. She was wrong. Standing here with wilted carnations from the bodega only made the hole in my chest wider. The grave was in the old section, near the rusted fence, where the grounds crew dumped fallen branches. Mom would have hated that. She'd wanted to be cremated, scattered somewhere pretty. But funerals cost money I didn't have, and the city buried her in a plot that barely fit her name on the stone. Elena Moretti, 1975 to 2026. Beloved mother. I knelt in the wet grass, ignoring how the cold seeped through my jeans. The flowers I'd left last week were gone, probably stolen or swept away by maintenance. I placed the new ones down, their pink petals already browning at the edges. I got the second job, I whispered. Night shifts at the diner on Fulton. Tips are good. The wind pulled at my hair. I tucked it behind my ears. The same dark waves Mom used to braid when I was small. I'm trying, Mama. The sound of car doors slamming made me freeze. I turned my head slowly. 3 black SUVs had pulled up along the cemetery's main road, their engines still running. Men stepped out, 5, no, 6 of them, all wearing dark suits and long wool coats that probably cost more than my rent. My stomach dropped. They moved with precision, fanning out across the graves like they'd done this before. One of them carried a massive wreath of white lilies. Another held an umbrella, though it wasn't raining hard enough to need one. And then I saw him. He emerged from the center vehicle, and the air itself seemed to shift. Tall, broad-shouldered, with black hair slicked back from a face that belonged on Roman coins, sharp, cruel, beautiful. He wore no overcoat, despite the cold, just a 3-piece suit so dark it swallowed light. They were walking toward me. Toward Mom's grave. I stood quickly, my knees aching from the cold ground. The carnations fell from my hand. One of the men noticed me, a younger guy with a scar bisecting his eyebrow, and he murmured something to the others. The man in the center, the one who moved like gravity bent around him, lifted his gaze. Our eyes met. His were dark. Not brown, something deeper, colder. The kind of eyes that had seen things I couldn't imagine, and felt nothing. He stopped 10 feet from me, and his men formed a loose semicircle behind him. The one with the umbrella stepped forward, holding it over his boss's head. You're Elena Moretti's daughter. His voice was low, smooth, with an accent that turned the edges of his words into something dangerous. It wasn't a question. Who are you? My voice came out steadier than I felt. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked past me at the grave, at the cheap headstone with its simple engraving. Something flickered across his face so fast I almost missed it. You shouldn't be here, he said. It's my mother's grave. I know. He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne, and something else, gunpowder, maybe, or just the metallic tang of wealth and violence. But this cemetery isn't safe. Not today. What are you talking about? The man with the lilies moved forward, placing the wreath at the base of Mom's headstone. It was huge, elaborate, with a black silk ribbon that read Rispetto in gold letters. Respect. My heart hammered against my ribs. Did you know her? The boss's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Leave, now. Not until you tell me why you're here. Why you're putting flowers on my mother's grave like she was someone to you. She was. 2 words. That was all he gave me. That's not an answer. It's the only one you'll get. Behind him, one of the men shifted, his hand moving to his hip. I saw the bulge beneath his jacket, a gun. They all had them. Fear spiked through me, cold and sharp. But underneath it was something else. Anger. This man, whoever he was, knew something about Mom. Something she'd never told me. Who are you? I demanded again. For a long moment, he just looked at me. His gaze traveled over my face like he was memorizing it, or maybe comparing it to something he remembered. Dante Crusoe. The name hit me like a fist. Everyone in the city knew that name. You didn't grow up in Brooklyn without hearing whispers about the Crusoe family, the ones who controlled the docks, the unions, the politicians, the ones who made people disappear. I took a step back, my heel catching on Mom's grave. Danny's hand shot out, steadying me by the elbow. His grip was firm but careful, and the heat of his palm burned through my jacket. Careful, he murmured. I jerked away from him. Don't touch me. His hand dropped, but he didn't retreat. You need to leave this cemetery. There are people watching. Watching what? Me. which means they're watching you now. The words settled over me like ice water. What did my mother have to do with you? Something dark crossed his face. Regret, maybe, or old grief. More than you know, and less than she deserved. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and his expression hardened into something lethal. Nico, he said to the scarred man. Get her out of here. What? No now. Nico moved toward me, but I stepped back, my spine hitting a nearby headstone. I'm not going anywhere until the gunshot cracked through the air like thunder. Chapter 2, Blood on Marbly's sound echoed off the crypts, and for a single, suspended second, everything stopped. Then Dante moved. He grabbed me by the waist and pulled me down behind Mom's headstone, just as a second shot splintered the marble cherub on the grave beside us. Chips of stone exploded into the air, and I felt the heat of his body covering mine, shielding me. Stay down, he growled against my ear, his men scattered with military precision, 3 diving behind monuments, 2 sprinting toward the source of the gunfire near the iron fence. Dandy's hand pressed against my shoulder, keeping me pinned to the cold ground while his other hand pulled a gun from inside his jacket. It was sleek, black, and he handled it like an extension of his body. How many? He called out. 2 shooters east perimeter. Nico shouted back. Maybe more in the trees. Another shot rang out. This one hit the SUV behind us, and the rear window shattered in a spray of safety glass. My ears were ringing. My hands shook as I pressed them against the wet grass, trying to make myself smaller. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Vittori, flank left, Dante ordered. Marco. Suppressive fire. Get me a clean exit. The man called. Marco rose from behind a mausoleum and fired 3 rapid shots toward the fence line. The sound was deafening, brutal, nothing like movies made it seem. Danny's weight lifted off me slightly. Can you run? I couldn't speak, couldn't think past the adrenaline screaming through my veins. His hand cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. Up close, his eyes weren't just dark, they were endless, and in them I saw something I didn't expect. Concern. Isabella. He said my name like he'd known it all along. Can you run? How do you? Yes or no? Yes. Good girl. He pulled me to my feet in one fluid motion, keeping his body between me and the shooters. When I say go, you run to the second SUV. The doors open. Get in the back and stay on the floor. Understand? I nodded, my teeth chattering. Go. I ran. My legs felt like water, but I forced them to move. 20 feet, 15. Behind me, I heard more gunfire. Danny's men returning fire with brutal efficiency. Someone screamed. The sound cut short. 10 feet, a bullet hit the ground 2 inches from my left foot, kicking up dirt and grass. I bit back a cry and dove for the open SUV door, scrambling inside. The interior smelled like leather and gunpowder. I pressed myself against the floor mats, my heart trying to beat out of my chest. 30 seconds later, Dante slid into the seat above me, slamming the door. Drive, he barked to whoever was up front. The SUV lurched forward, tires screaming. I was thrown against the console as we took a corner to fast, and Danny's hand shot out, steadying me again. Stay down until we're clear. I stayed down. Through the window above me, I could see trees whipping past, the gray sky, the flash of another vehicle keeping pace beside us. Casualties? Dante asked into his phone. A pause. Get him to the dock. I don't care about the hospital, I said. The dock. He ended the call with a vicious jab of his thumb. My breathing was too fast, shallow, panicked. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. Breathe, Dante said, his voice cutting through the chaos in my head. Slowly, in through your nose. I can't. Yes, you can. Do it. I tried, failed, tried again. On the 3rd attempt, air filled my lungs properly, and the spots receded. Good. Again. I followed his instructions like a drowning person follows a lifeline. Somewhere between the 4th and 5th breath, my hands stopped shaking quite so badly. Who were they? I whispered. Rivals, enemies. Does it matter? They tried to kill you. They tried. They failed. He said it with the casual certainty of someone who'd survived 100 assassination attempts and expected 100 more. I pushed myself up to sitting, ignoring his warning to stay down. We were on the expressway now, weaving through traffic at speeds that should have been illegal. The driver, a massive man with a shaved head, didn't even flinch. They saw me, I said. Those shooters. They saw me with you. Dandy's jaw tightened. Yes. Which means you're in danger now. Because of me. The reality of it crashed over me like a wave. I'd gone to visit my mother's grave and somehow ended up in the middle of a mob war. This is insane, I breathed. I have to go home. I have work tonight and my roommate. You're not going home. I stared at him. Excuse me? Your apartment is the first place they'll look. He pulled out his phone again, typing something with quick, brutal efficiency. You'll stay at one of my properties until this is resolved. I'm not staying anywhere with you. I don't even know you. You know enough. You know, I'm the reason men with guns just tried to kill you. And you know that if you go back to your life, you won't live long enough to see tomorrow. The words hung in the air between us, sharp and undeniable. Why were you at her grave? My voice cracked. What did my mother have to do with your world? Dante looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Old pain, carefully buried. She saved my life once, he said quietly. A long time ago. And I owed her a debt I never got to repay. What kind of debt? The kind that doesn't die with the person who holds it. Before I could press him further, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression went cold. Merda, he muttered. What? He showed me the phone. On the screen was a photo, grainy, taken from a distance. It showed me kneeling at Mom's grave, and standing 10 feet away, Dante Caruso watching me with an expression I couldn't read. The message beneath it read, "Who's the girl?" And below that, "Find out." Chapter 3. The safe Possessive building didn't look like a fortress. It looked like a brownstone, one of the elegant ones in Brooklyn. Heights with iron railings and window boxes that probably held flowers in spring. Normal, expensive. The kind of place where lawyers and finance guys lived with their art collecting wives. But when we pulled into the underground garage, I saw the cameras, dozens of them, and the gate that lowered behind us was reinforced steel. Out, Dante said. I climbed from the SUV on shaking legs. The garage was pristine to clean, like it had been pressure washed recently. Or maybe scrubbed of something worse than dirt. Danny's hand found the small of my back, guiding me toward an elevator. I wanted to pull away, to tell him not to touch me, but my body was still in shock, and the warmth of his palm was the only thing keeping me grounded. The driver and 2 other men flanked us. One of them, Nico, with the scarred eyebrow, was pressing a blood-soaked cloth to his shoulder. You need stitches, I heard myself say. He glanced at me, surprised. I'm fine, Signorina. You're bleeding through your jacket. I've had worse. The elevator opened, and Dante pulled me inside before I could argue. We rode up in silence, the numbers climbing to the top floor. When the doors opened, I stepped into a penthouse that stole what little breath I had left. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the skyline glittering in the late afternoon light. The furniture was modern, but warm leather and dark wood, art on the walls that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years. Everything was clean, sharp, expensive in a way that made my thrift store jeans feel like sandpaper. Bedrooms through there, Dante said, gesturing to a hallway. Bathroom attached. There's clothes in the closet. They should fit. Whose clothes? No one's. I keep them for emergencies. I wanted to ask what kind of emergencies required a closet full of women's clothing, but I was too exhausted to care. My phone will stay off. They can track it. I need to call my roommate. She'll worry. Give me her number. I'll have someone deliver a message. That's insane. I can just. Nothing about your life is safe right now, Isabella. He moved to the windows, his silhouette dark against the fading light. The people who shot at us today? They're connected to families who've been at war with the Carusos for 3 generations. If they find you, they'll use you to get to me. Why would they think I matter to you? I'm nobody. He turned, and the look he gave me was heavy with something I couldn't name. Because I protected you, he said quietly. Because I pulled you down instead of letting you take a bullet. Because I brought you here instead of leaving you at that cemetery. That's all they need to know. The weight of it settled over me. I'd become a target simply by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. How long? How long? What? How long do I have to stay here? Danny's jaw flexed. Until I've eliminated the threat. And how long will that take? Days. Maybe a week. I can't just disappear for a week. I have jobs, responsibilities, which mean nothing if you're dead. I wanted to scream at him, to rage against the unfairness of it all. Instead, I sank onto the leather couch and dropped my head into my hands. This isn't happening, I whispered. I heard him move closer, felt him crouch in front of me. When I looked up, his face was level with mine, those dark eyes searching. I'm sorry, he said, and I believed him. Your mother deserved better than this. And so do you. Then tell me the truth. Tell me how you knew her. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, moving to a bar cart in the corner and pouring amber liquid into the glasses. He brought one to me. Drink. It'll help. I took it, the whiskey burning down my throat. It did help a little. Dante sat in the chair across from me, elbows on his knees, glass dangling from his fingers. 15 years ago, he began. I was 22 and stupid. My father had just died, and I was trying to prove myself to the family, trying to show them I could lead. He paused, staring into his glass. There was a deal. A meeting with a rival family in Red Hook. It was supposed to be neutral ground, but they'd planned an ambush. 8 men with automatic weapons. I should have died that night. My heart was pounding again, but for a different reason now. Your mother was working the night shift at a clinic nearby. She heard the gunfire and came out, God knows why. She should have run the other way. Instead, she found me bleeding out in an alley, and she dragged me into her car. He looked up at me, and I saw the memory living in his eyes. She drove me to a veterinarian. She knew someone who wouldn't report a gunshot wound. She stayed while he stitched me up, brought me water, told me I was an idiot for getting myself shot. A laugh escaped me short, almost hysterical. That sounded exactly like Mom. She saved my life, Dante continued. And when I tried to pay her, to thank her, she refused. Said she didn't want money from people like me. Said I should use my second chance to be better than the man who'd gotten himself shot. Tears burned behind my eyes. I never forgot her. And when I heard she'd died, his voice roughened. I wanted to pay my respects. That's all. But someone knew you'd come. Yes. And they waited. The silence stretched between us, heavy with implications. Did she know? I asked quietly. Did she know who you really were? She knew enough, but she never told me. She was protecting you. From my world. From this. He gestured around us at the fortress disguised as a home. I stood, suddenly needing to move. I walked to the windows, looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, people were after me. Strangers with guns who wanted me dead or worse. I don't know how to do this, I whispered. Behind me, I heard Dante stand. Felt him approach until he was close enough that I could feel his warmth. You survive, he said. That's all. You survive, and I'll handle the rest. I turned to face him, and the proximity stole my breath. He was inches away, tall enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. Why do you care? I asked. You paid your debt. You came to her grave. You could have left me there. His hand rose, almost touching my face before he caught himself and let it drop. Because, he said quietly, you have her eyes, and her courage. And I've already failed her once. I won't fail her daughter too. Chapter 4. The first night he couldn't sleep. The bedroom was larger than my entire apartment. With a bed so soft I felt like I was sinking into clouds. But every time I closed my eyes, I heard gunshots. Saw marble exploding. Felt Dandy's body covering mine, his weight, solid and protective and terrifying all at once. At 2 in the morning. I gave up. I wrapped myself in the cashmere robe I'd found in the closet, tags still on. Like Dante had said, and padded out into the main living space. The city glowed beyond the windows, 1,000 lights bleeding together. I didn't expect to find him awake. Dante sat at the dining table, papers spread before him, a laptop open. He'd changed into dark slacks and a white shirt, with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Even exhausted, even at 2 a.m. he looked dangerous. He glanced up when I entered. Can't sleep? Every time I closed my eyes, I trailed off. He nodded, understanding in a way that told me he knew exactly what I meant. Whiskey. Helps, he offered. I don't think drinking myself. Unconscious is the answer. No, but it's better than staring at the ceiling. He was right about that. I moved to the kitchen, gleaming marble and stainless steel, and found the whiskey. Poured myself to fingers and returned to the living room, but not to him. Instead, I curled into the window seat, pulling my knees to my chest. What are you working on? I asked. Damage control. Trying to identify who took those shots today. And 3 possible families. 12 possible shooters. He ran a hand through his hair, mussing the perfect style. They'll all deny it, of course. Even the ones who did it. How do you live like this? He looked up at me, and in the dim light, his face seemed younger, more human. You get used to it, he said. The paranoia, the violence. After a while, it just becomes normal. That's sad. Yes, he agreed. It is. I sipped my whiskey, letting the burn ground me. My mother never talked about you, about any of this. She wouldn't have. Elena was smart. She knew the less you knew, the safer you'd be. But I'm not safe now. No, you're not. The honesty was brutal, but I appreciated it more than false comfort. Tell me something, I said. Something about her. Something I didn't know. Dante leaned back in his chair, considering. She sang while she worked. Old Italian songs her grandmother taught her. Verdi, I think. She had a terrible voice. I laughed, a real laugh that surprised us both. She did. God, she was awful. She didn't care. Said music was about joy, not talent. That sounds like her. We fell into silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Just two people awake in the small hours, held together by grief and circumstance. Can I ask you something? I ventured. You can ask. I may not answer. The man who got shot today. Nico, will he be okay? Yes. The bullet went through clean. He's had worse. How do you do that? Send men into danger, knowing they might die? Dandy's expression hardened. I don't send them anywhere. I wouldn't go myself. And they know the life they chose. The risks, but it still bothers you. It wasn't a question, and from the way his jaw tightened, I knew I'd hit something true. Every death bothers me, he said quietly. Every scar. Every time one of my men bleeds, I feel it. But I can't show them that. Can't let them see doubt. Because the moment I hesitate, the moment I show weakness, we're all dead. That's exhausting. Yes. I studied him across the room, this man who dragged me into his world of violence and shadows. He didn't look like a monster. He looked tired, human, lonely. Why do you keep the clothes? I asked suddenly. The ones in the closet. I told you. Emergencies. Has this happened before? You bringing women here? His eyes met mine, dark and unreadable. No, then why? Because I'm always prepared for every possibility. It's how I've stayed alive this long. I wanted to push, to dig deeper, but something in his expression warned me off. Instead, I asked, what happens tomorrow? Tomorrow? I meet with the other families, see who's willing to talk, who's willing to broker peace. And if no one will, then we go to war. He said it so calmly, like war was just another item on his to-do list. How can you be so casual about it? I'm not casual. I'm realistic. He closed his laptop, giving me his full attention. This is my world, Isabella. It's ugly and violent, and most people don't survive it. But it's all I know. All I've ever known. You could leave. No, I couldn't. He stood, moving to pour himself more whiskey. I was born into this family. My blood is in every brick of our empire. If I left, I'd be hunted, and everyone I care about would become a target. So you're trapped. We're all trapped. Some of us just have nicer cages. He gestured around the penthouse, and I understood what he meant. All this wealth, this power, it was still a prison. I'm sorry, I said softly. He looked surprised. Why? Because you saved my mother's life, and in return, she got to die peacefully, in a hospital, surrounded by people who loved her. And you? I gestured at him. You'll probably die in an alley somewhere, alone. Something flickered in his expression, pain, maybe, or recognition of a truth he'd accepted long ago. Probably, he agreed. That's not fair. No, but it's honest. We looked at each other across the room, and something shifted. Someone spoke in understanding, passing between us. You should try to sleep, he said finally. Tomorrow will be difficult. I stood, tightening the robe. Will you? Sleep? Eventually. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. I started toward the bedroom, then stopped. Turned back. Dante? Yes? Thank you for protecting me today. He inclined his head slightly. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise. I believed him. God help me. I believed him. Chapter 5. Proximity and danger. Morning came with the smell of coffee. I woke disoriented, tangled in sheets that cost more than my car, in a room that wasn't mine. For a single, blissful second, I forgot where I was. Then I remembered. The gunshots. The blood. Dandy's hands pulling me to safety. I found him in the kitchen, dressed in another immaculate suit, charcoal this time, with a black shirt beneath. He looked like sin and money and danger wrapped in Italian wool. Coffee? He offered, not looking up from his phone. Please. He poured without asking how I took it. Black. 2 sugars, and I realized he'd watched me last night. Noticed. How did you sleep? He asked. Better than expected. You? I didn't. I believed him. There were shadows under his eyes, a tightness around his mouth. What happens today? I asked, accepting the cup. I have meetings. Here. You'll need to stay in the bedroom. All day? Until I know it's safe. I wanted to argue, but what was the point? He was right, I couldn't exactly walk out and resume my normal life. There's books, a tablet. Anything you need, just ask. I need my life back. He finally looked at me, and the weight of his gaze made my stomach flip. I'm working on it. Before I could respond, the elevator dinged. Dandy's entire body tensed, his hand moving to the gun I now knew he always carried. But it was just Nico, his shoulder bandaged, carrying a bag. Signorina, he nodded to me. I brought clothes. And your things from the apartment. My heart stopped. You went to my apartment? We were very careful, Dante assured me. Nico went in through the fire escape, was in and out in 3 minutes. Did my roommate, she wasn't home. I left a note saying you had a family emergency. I should have been angry. Should have raged at the invasion of privacy. Instead, I just felt exhausted. Thank you, I said to Nico. He looked surprised, then pleased. Prego, Signorina. More men arrived over the next hour. I recognized some from the cemetery, hard-faced men in expensive suits who moved with coiled violence. They gathered around Dandy's dining table, speaking in rapid Italian that I only half understood. I retreated to the bedroom as instructed, but the walls were thin enough that I caught fragments. The Vitali family denies involvement. 3 witnesses place their men in Red Hook. We hit them back. Show strength, or broker peace. Show restraint. Dandy's voice, cutting through. We don't move until we're certain. I won't start a war on assumptions. Someone argued I couldn't hear who, but Dante shut it down with a single sharp command. I found myself pacing the bedroom, restless. On the nightstand, I'd unpacked the bag Nico brought. My clothes, my toiletries, my laptop, and at the bottom, almost hidden, a photo in a simple frame. Mom and me, 5 years ago, at Coney Island. We were laughing, wind whipping our hair, the Ferris wheel bright behind us. I picked it up, my throat tight. She'd kept so many secrets, had protected me from Dandy's world so carefully that I'd never even suspected it existed. You should have told me, I whispered to her image. A knock on the door made me jump. Yes? Dante entered, loosening his tie. The meetings must have ended. How are you holding up? Fine, bored, trapped. I know it's difficult, do you? Have you ever been locked in a room for your own safety? His expression darkened. Yes, when I was 15, my father's enemies tried to kill our family. I spent 3 months in a safe house in Sicily. Couldn't leave, couldn't call anyone, just waited while my father's men hunted down the threat. I felt my anger deflate. I'm sorry. I didn't, it's fine. He moved to the window, hands in his pockets. I understand the frustration. What did your meetings find out? The Vitali family claims innocence, but they're lying. I can always tell. So what do you do? Apply pressure. Make them think we know more than we do. Wait for someone to make a mistake. And in the meantime, you stay here, safe. I set the photo down carefully. Can I ask you something? Always. When you look at me, do you see her? My mother? Dante turned, his dark eyes finding mine. Yes, he admitted. In your eyes. The way you tilt your head when you're thinking. Your stubbornness. Is that why you're protecting me? At first. Maybe. But now. He trailed off, something unreadable crossing his face. Now what? He took a step toward me, then stopped, as if catching himself. Now it's more complicated. The air between us felt charged, heavy. I should have stepped back, should have maintained distance. Instead, I moved closer. Complicated how? Isabella. My name was a warning. Don't what? Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you're trying to figure me out. Like you're not afraid. Maybe I'm not. Not anymore. You should be. I'm dangerous. I know. You don't. He moved fast, closing the distance until he was right there, inches away. You see a man protecting you, but that's not who I am. I've killed people, Isabella. Dozens. I've broken men who betrayed me. I've built an empire on blood and fear. I know that too. Then why aren't you running? Because, I said softly, there's nowhere to run. And because you put flowers on my mother's grave. Because you kept her photo in your mind for 15 years. Because when men shot at us, you covered me with your body without hesitation. That's not a monster, Dante. That's someone who still has a soul, no matter how hard you try to bury it. His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he might touch me. His hand lifted, fingers almost brushing my cheek. Then his phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He stepped back, pulling it from his pocket. Whatever he read there made his expression go cold and hard. What? I asked. The Vitalis just made their move. They took one of my warehouses, killed 2 of my men. Chapter 6. The war room penthouse transformed into a war room within minutes. Men flooded in more than before, maybe 20 of them, all carrying the same lethal energy. They gathered around Dandy's dining table, which had been cleared of breakfast dishes and now held maps, laptops, photographs of stern-faced men I didn't recognize. I stood in the bedroom doorway watching. Dante had told me to stay inside, but he hadn't closed the door. Maybe he'd forgotten. Or maybe some part of him wanted me to see this to understand exactly what his world looked like when the veneer of civility cracked. 2 dead, 3 wounded, Nico reported, his voice flat, professional, like he was discussing weather instead of bodies. They hit us at shift change, knew exactly when we'd be vulnerable. Inside information, someone else said a man with silver threading through his dark hair. Someone talked. Dante stood at the head of the table, hands braced on the surface, leaning forward. He looked different now, harder. The man who'd almost touched my face 20 minutes ago had vanished, replaced by something colder. Names, he said. I want the names of everyone who knew the shift schedules. Boss, that's over 30 people. Then we questioned 30 people. His voice cut like a blade. Someone sold us out. Someone gave the Vitalis that information. Find them. And when we do. This from a younger man, eager, hungry for violence. Danny's expression didn't change. You bring them to me, alive. I want to look them in the eyes before they die. A chill ran down my spine. This was the man my mother had saved. This was the man who'd protected me yesterday. Both truths existed simultaneously, and I didn't know how to reconcile them. What about retaliation? Nico asked. The men are asking. Tell them to wait. Boss, I said wait. Dante straightened, and even I could feel the authority radiating from him. We don't move in anger. We move with precision. The Vitalis want us to strike back blindly, to start a war that will bleed us both dry. We're not giving them that satisfaction. So we do nothing? The younger man again, disbelief in his voice. Dante turned to him slowly, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Are you questioning me, Luca? Luca paled. No, boss. I just then shut your mouth and listen. We're not doing nothing. We're doing something worse. He tapped the table, drawing everyone's attention to the maps. The Vitalis hit 1 warehouse. We own 12. They think they've wounded us. Instead, we're going to cut off their revenue streams. Every shipment they have coming through the harbor in the next week gets delayed. Every union that works with them gets reminded who really runs this city. Every politician they've bought gets a visit from our lawyers with very detailed records of their indiscretions. Understanding dawned on the faces around the table. We choke them. Nico said softly. We strangle them. Dante corrected. Slowly, quietly, until they're desperate enough to make another mistake. And when they do, we'll be waiting. It was brutal, efficient, terrifying in its calculated coldness. This was how he'd survived. Not with rage, but with ruthless intelligence. The meeting continued for another hour. Plans were made, assignments given. Men left in pairs, their faces grim but determined. Finally, only Dante and Nico remained, along with the silver-haired man I'd heard called Salvatore. The girl, Salvatore said, and I realized with a jolt he meant me. She's a complication. She's under my protection, Dante said, his tone brooking no argument, which makes her a target. And a liability. Salvatore's eyes flicked toward the bedroom doorway, landing on me. No disrespect, Signorina, but your presence here puts us all at risk. I stepped into the room fully, tired of being talked about like I wasn't there. Then let me leave, I said. I never asked for this. Isabella, Dante started. He's right. I'm a liability. So let me go home. Let me disappear back into my life. Your life doesn't exist anymore, Salvatore said bluntly. The moment those shooters saw you with Dante, you became part of this world. You can't unring that bell. Then what am I supposed to do? Hide here forever? Until the threat is neutralized. Yes. I looked at Dante, searching for contradiction, for some sign that Salvatore was wrong. But his expression was stone. He's right. Dante said quietly. This is insane. This is survival. I wanted to scream, to throw something. Instead, I turned and walked back into the bedroom, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. I heard voices muffled, arguing. Then footsteps. The door opened, and Dante entered alone, closing it behind him. Don't, I said, not turning around. Don't come in here and tell me this is for my own good. I wasn't going to. Then what? I was going to apologize. That made me turn. He stood near the door, hands in his pockets, looking more tired than I'd ever seen him. You're sorry? I asked. For dragging you into this. For the fact that visiting your mother's grave has cost you your freedom. For every moment of fear you've felt since yesterday. Being sorry doesn't change anything. No, it doesn't. He moved closer, slow, careful. But it's the truth. And I owe you that much. What you owe me is my life back. I'm trying. But these things take time. How much time? I don't know. The honesty was worse than a lie would have been. I have to call my roommate, I said, desperate for some connection to my real life. I have to tell her something. She'll file a missing person report if I just disappear. I'll have someone deliver a message. No, I need to hear her voice. I need my voice cracked. I need to know the world I left behind still exists. Dante studied me for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, typed something, and handed it to me. 5 minutes. Don't tell her where you are. Don't tell her anything specific. I took the phone with shaking hands and dialed Mara's number. She answered on the second ring. Hello? Mara, it's me. Bella? Oh, my God. Where are you? I came home and you were gone. And there was this note about a family emergency. But you don't have any family except I know. I'm sorry. Something came up. I'm okay. I just need a few days. A few days? Bella, what's going on? I looked at Dante, at his dark eyes watching me with an intensity that made my heart race. I can't explain right now, but I promise I'm safe. I'll call you when I can. This is crazy. You're scaring me. I'm sorry, I whispered. I have to go. I ended the call before she could protest. Before I broke down entirely, Dante took the phone gently from my hands. Thank you. I managed. You're stronger than you think, he said softly. I don't feel strong. I feel trapped. I know. But you're still standing. Still fighting. That strength. He was close now. Close enough that I could smell his cologne, see the faint stubble on his jaw. Close enough that when I swayed slightly, exhausted and overwhelmed, his hand caught my elbow. When was the last time you ate? He asked. I couldn't remember. Come on, he said, guiding me toward the door. We'll fix that first. Everything else can wait. Chapter 7. The betrayal cooked. I hadn't expected that. Hadn't expected him to move through the kitchen with easy competence, cracking eggs into a pan, slicing bread with quick, precise movements. He'd removed his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and for a moment he looked almost normal. Almost. My grandmother taught me, he said, catching my stare. Said a man who couldn't feed himself was useless. Smart woman. Terrifying woman. She ran the family for 3 years after my grandfather died. Nobody dared cross her. He plated the food perfect omelets, golden toast, fruit I didn't recognize. We ate at the counter in silence, the weight of the morning pressing down on us. What happens now? I asked finally. Now we wait, watch, see who moves first. That's it. Just wait. War isn't all gunfire and explosions, Isabella. Most of it is patience, strategy, knowing when to strike and when to hold back. I pushed food around my plate. The men you lost today. Did you know them? His fork stilled. Yes, I'm sorry. So am I. The way he said it flat, empty told me he'd said those words too many times. That every death carved something out of him, even if he couldn't show it. My phone technically buzzed on the counter. Dante glanced at the screen, and his entire body went rigid. What? I asked. He didn't answer, just stared at the message, his jaw working. Dante, what is it? He turned the phone so I could see. The message was a photo. A man tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse, blood streaming from his nose. But it was the text beneath that made my stomach drop. We have your traitor. Come alone to the Red Hook Pier at midnight, or we kill him and send pieces of the girl back to you. They know where I am. I whispered. No, they're guessing, trying to draw me out. But his voice lacked conviction. Who's the man in the photo? Marco, one of my men from the cemetery. His hands clenched into fists. He was at the warehouse when it was hit. I thought he was dead. It's a trap, obviously. You can't go. He looked at me like I'd suggested he stop breathing. I'm going. They'll kill you, maybe. But if I don't go, they'll kill Marco. And they'll keep coming after you until they find you. So you're just going to walk into an ambush? I'm going to end this. He pulled out his phone, already dialing. Nico, gather the men. Full tactical gear. I want snipers on every rooftop within 2 blocks of Red Hook Pier. Approach routes secured. Nobody moves until I give the signal. He was planning a counter ambush. Of course he was. This is insane. I breathed. This is my life. He spent the next hour making calls, reviewing maps, checking weapons with a casual efficiency that should have terrified me. But all I could think about was that photo. The blood. The promise of violence. I'm coming with you, I said suddenly. Dante looked up from the gun he was cleaning. Absolutely not. If they want me, let's give them me. Use me as bait. No, Dante, I said. No, Isabella. He set the gun down with controlled force. I'm not using you as bait. I'm not letting you anywhere near that pier. You'll stay here with Salvatore and 2 guards. End of discussion. You don't get to make that decision for me. Yes, I do. Because the alternative is watching you die. And I won't do that. The raw emotion in his voice stopped my protest cold. Why? I asked softly. Why does it matter so much? He stared at me for a long moment, something dangerous and desperate moving behind his eyes. Because your mother saved my life, and I owe her daughter the same, he said finally. And because what? Because you make me remember what it's like to want something other than revenge and power. He crossed to me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back. You make me want to be the man your mother thought I could become. And that's more terrifying than any bullet. My breath caught. Dante, the elevator dinged. We both turned. It was too early for his men to arrive. Too early for anyone. Danny's hand moved to his gun in one smooth motion. Get behind me. But it was just Nico, breathing hard, like he'd been running. Boss, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where someone put a tracker in Isabella's phone. My blood went cold. What? When I went to your apartment, someone must have accessed it, planted a tracker. They've known she was here the whole time. Danny's expression went lethal. How long? Since yesterday. Maybe longer. That's impossible. I had her phone swept. They're using new tech. Military grade. Our scanner didn't catch it. The implications hit me like a physical blow. They'd been watching, waiting, all that time. I'd felt safe. They'd known exactly where I was. We need to move her, Nico said. Now. But before Dante could respond, the windows exploded inward. Glass rained down like deadly snow. Dante grabbed me, throwing us both to the floor as bullets tore through the space where we'd been standing. The leather couch erupted in puffs of stuffing. The dining table splintered. Go, go, go. Dante shouted, pulling me toward the hallway as more gunfire erupted. Nico returned fire, his gun, barking in the enclosed space. Somewhere, I heard shouting. Footsteps on the stairs. The elevator? I gasped. Compromised. Stairs. Dante kicked open a door. I'd never noticed a service entrance. Concrete steps leading down. Move. We ran. My bare feet slapped against cold concrete. Behind us, I heard fighting, screaming, the wet sound of bullets finding flesh. Dante kept his body between me and the danger, one hand gripping mine, the other holding his gun ready. We made it 3 floors before they caught up. A man rounded the corner ahead of us, weapon raised. Dante fired twice without hesitation. The man dropped, and we jumped over his body, kept running. How did they find us? I panted. Later. Run. We burst out into the underground garage. 2 SUVs waited, engines running. But so did 5 men in tactical gear, weapons trained on us. We were trapped. Danny's arm came around me, protective, final. His gun pointed at the closest attacker. You want her? He said, his voice deadly calm. You go through me first. The man in front smiled. That's the plan, Crusoe. He pulled the trigger. Chapter 8. Blood and Truth shot went wide, not because the shooter missed, but because Nico appeared from nowhere, slamming into the man's shoulder. They went down in a tangle of limbs, and suddenly the garage erupted into chaos. Dante fired 3 times in rapid succession. 2 men dropped. The others scattered behind vehicles, returning fire, and bullets sparked off concrete and metal. The SUV. Dante shouted, dragging me toward the nearest vehicle. We ran low, using cars as cover. My feet left bloody prints. I'd cut them on glass upstairs without noticing. Adrenaline drowned out the pain. Dante shoved me toward the passenger side, but I couldn't get the door open. My hands were shaking too badly. He reached past me, yanked it open, practically threw me inside. Stay down. He moved to the driver's side, but one of the attackers emerged from behind the concrete pillar. Too close. Dante spun, but the man was faster. His gun already rising. I didn't think. I grabbed the gun Dante kept in the center console. I'd seen him check it earlier, raised it with both hands like I'd seen in movies, and pulled the trigger. The recoil nearly broke my wrists. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet hit the attacker in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. Not a killing shot, but enough. Danny's eyes found mine for a split-second shock. Pride, something darker than he was moving again. Firing twice more, dropping the wounded man permanently. He dove into the driver's seat, and the SUV roared to life. Hold on. We screamed toward the garage exit, bullets pinging off the armored body. The gate was lowering. Someone had hit the emergency close. We weren't going to make it. Dante floored it. We hit the gate at 60 miles per hour. Metal shrieked. The windshield cracked but held. Then we were through, fishtailing onto the street. Tires smoking. Behind us, 2 vehicles gave chase. Dante drove like a man possessed, weaving through traffic, running red lights, taking corners at speeds that made the SUV tilt onto wheels. My seatbelt was the only thing keeping me from being thrown around the cabin. Are you hit? He demanded, eyes flicking between me and the road. No, are you? No. In the rearview mirror, our pursuers were gaining. One of them leaned out the window, assault rifle in hand. Get down. Dante barked. The rear window exploded. I screamed, covering my head as glass rained down. Dante swerved hard right, into an alley barely wide enough for the SUV. We scraped both walls, sending trash cans flying, but the pursuing vehicles were too wide to follow. One tried anyway. Got wedged between buildings. The other found a parallel street, trying to cut us off. Dante emerged from the alley, turned left, then immediately right, navigating the city like he'd memorized every street. Maybe he had. Where are we going? I asked, my voice shaking. Safe house. A real one this time. How do you know it's safe? Because nobody knows about it. Not even my men. We drove for 20 minutes, doubling back, taking random turns, until Dante was satisfied we'd lost them. Finally, he pulled into a residential neighborhood in Queens. Modest houses, chain-link fences, the kind of place where a man like Dante Caruso would never be expected. He parked in a narrow driveway beside a small brick house with peeling paint. Out, quickly. We moved fast. Dante had his gun in one hand, keys in the other. He unlocked the door, swept the interior with professional efficiency, then pulled me inside and locked multiple deadbolts behind us. The house was tiny, clean but sparse. A couch, a table, basic kitchen. Safe house, not home. Bathrooms through there, Dante said, already moving to the windows, checking sight lines. Clean yourself up. I need to make calls. I looked down and understood. My feet were bleeding, leaving tracks on the hardwood. My hands were cut from the glass. My clothes were torn and dirty. I'd shot someone. The realization hit me all at once, and my legs gave out. Dante caught me before I hit the floor, his arms strong and steady. Easy, he murmured. Easy, you're in shock. I shot him. You saved my life. I know. Come here. He guided me to the couch, sat me down, disappeared into the bathroom, and returned with a first aid kit. Without asking permission, he knelt in front of me and began cleaning my feet with gentle, careful hands. It was so at odds with everything, with the violence, the gunfire, the blood, that I started crying. I'm sorry, I choked out. I'm sorry, I just don't apologize. Not for this. Not for surviving. His hands were so gentle, removing glass, applying antiseptic, wrapping gauze with the expertise of someone who'd done this many times before. My mother, I whispered. Is this what she saw when she saved you? Blood and violence, and yes. He looked up at me, and his eyes were raw. She saw me at my worst, half dead, covered in blood, more monster than man. And she still helped me, still saw something worth saving. Was she right? I don't know, but I'm trying to be. He finished with my feet and moved to my hands, his touch just as careful. The intimacy of it, him kneeling before me, tending my wounds, made my heart ache. They almost killed you, I said. Because of me. Because you were protecting me. They almost killed me because that's what enemies do. This isn't your fault, isn't it? If I hadn't gone to the cemetery, then I never would have met you. And that," he paused, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. "That would have been a loss I didn't even know to mourn." The air between us changed, charged, heavy with everything we'd been circling for days. "Dante," I breathed. He leaned forward, just slightly, his eyes searching mine for permission, for rejection, for something. His phone rang. The spell shattered. Dante pulled back, answering with a curt, "What?" I watched his face transform as he listened, watched it go from hard to harder to something like grief. "When?" he asked. A pause. "I understand. Send me the location." He ended the call and stood, his back to me. "What happened?" I asked, though I already knew it was bad. When he turned, his expression was carved from ice. "They found Nico," he said quietly. "Or what's left of him. The Vitalis sent him back to us in pieces." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me, and they left a message. Dante continued, his voice empty of everything but rage. "They want to negotiate. Tomorrow night. Neutral ground. They're willing to offer terms." "What kind of terms?" His eyes met mine, dark and terrible and resigned. "They want you. In exchange for peace." Chapter 9. The choice. No, Dante said it with such finality that for a moment, I thought the conversation was over. "No," I repeated. "They don't get you. Not now. Not ever." "Dante, if it means ending this, it won't end anything." He moved to the window, keeping to the side, watching the street. "The Vitalis don't want peace. They want leverage. They want to break me by taking something He stopped abruptly. "Something you what?" He didn't answer, just stood there, rigid, his reflection ghostly in the window glass. I stood despite the pain in my feet, crossed to him. "Nico is dead because of me. Nico is dead because he was a soldier in a war that started before you were born. 2 of your men died at the warehouse. How many more will die if this continues?" "As many as it takes." He turned, and the look in his eyes was fierce. "I've lost men before, good men. It destroys me every time. But I won't trade their lives for yours. I won't hand you over to animals who will hurt you just to hurt me. You don't get to make that decision." "Yes, I do. You're under my protection. I'm not your property, Dante." "No," his voice softened, and he stepped closer. "You're so much worse than that." "What does that mean?" He reached up, his fingers barely brushing my jaw. The touch was feather-light, reverent, and it made my breath catch. "It means I can't think straight when you're in danger. It means I've made tactical errors trying to keep you safe. It means every time I close my eyes, I see you in that garage, holding that gun, looking at me." Like he stopped, his jaw clenching. "Like I was worth saving. You are worth saving. Am I? I've killed more men than I can count, built an empire on suffering. My hands are so stained with blood, they'll never be clean. I know what you are." I covered his hand with mine, holding it against my face. "I've seen it, and I'm still here." "You're here because you have no choice." "No, I'm here because..." The words stuck in my throat, terrifying and true. "Because somewhere between the cemetery and this moment, I stopped being your obligation and started being something else." His thumb traced my cheekbone. "What are we, Isabella?" "I don't know. Something impossible." "Yes," he breathed. "Impossible." He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away, to stop this before it became something we couldn't take back. But I didn't move, didn't breathe. His lips brushed mine, soft, questioning, nothing like the hard man who'd shot his way through that garage. I made a sound, something between a gasp and a surrender, and his hand slid into my hair, deepening the kiss. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry. 2 people who'd been circling each other for days finally colliding. His other arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me against him, and I felt the rapid beat of his heart against my chest. I'd never been kissed like this. Like I was oxygen and he was drowning. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. "This is a mistake," he whispered. "Probably. You should hate me, fear me. I know. But you don't." "No, I don't." His phone buzzed again, shattering the moment. He pulled away, reading the message, and his expression hardened. "My men found Marco," he said. "The one from the photo. He's alive." "That's good. He's the one who betrayed us. Who planted the tracker in your phone when Nico brought your things? Who told the Vitalis where we'd be?" The revelation hit like a slap. "Why? Money? Or threats against his family? Does it matter?" Dandy's voice was cold. "He sold us out. Got Nico killed. Nearly got you killed. What will you do to him? What I have to. I knew what that meant. Knew what happened to traitors in Danny's world. Don't, I said softly. He looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Don't what? Don't kill him. Not for me. Isabella, please. I know what he did. I know what he deserves. But if you kill him because of me, I become part of this, part of the violence, and I don't think I can carry that. Dante stared at me for a long moment. Then, you're asking me to show mercy to a man who would have watched you die. I'm asking you to show me you're more than what this world has made you. It was unfair. I knew it was unfair, but I asked anyway. He turned away, his shoulders tight. You don't understand what you're asking. In my world, mercy is weakness. If I let him live, every man under me will question my authority. Then help me understand. Explain it to me. It's simple. Marco's betrayal cost lives. If there are no consequences, it will cost more. My men need to know I will protect them. That betrayal means death. It's the only law that matters. And what about the law that says, you protect the innocent, that you honor debts? You told me my mother saved your life, that you owed her. Well, I'm asking you to honor that debt now. Not by protecting me, but by showing me the man she believed you could be. His hands clenched into fists. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse. Thought I'd pushed too far. Then his phone rang again. He answered. His voice clipped. What? I watched his expression change as he listened. Watched color drain from his face. When? He demanded. A pause. Secure the perimeter. I'm on my way. He ended the call, already moving toward the door. What happened? They found Salvatore. He's been meeting with the Vitalis for weeks. He's the one who set up the ambush at the penthouse. The world tilted. Your second in command betrayed you? Not just me. Danny's eyes met mine, dark with fury and something like fear. He knows about this safe house. I told him about it years ago, in case something happened to me. Understanding crashed over me like ice water. They're coming, I whispered. Yes. And we have maybe 10 minutes before they arrive. He grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the back door. Run, Isabella. We run, or we die. Chapter 10. The reckoning didn't run. Danny's hand was on the back door when he stopped, his entire body going still. What? I asked, terror spiking through me. Running is what they expect, what they want. He turned, his eyes sharp with calculation. Salvatore knows how I think. Knows I'd grab you and run. He'll have men covering every exit route within 5 blocks. Then what do we do? A slow, dangerous smile crossed his face. We stay, and we end this. That's insane. You said we have 10 minutes, which is exactly enough time. He pulled out his phone, dialing rapidly. Luca, I need you to listen carefully. Bring everyone to the Queen's safe house. Yes, that one. Full assault gear. You have 8 minutes. He ended the call and moved through the small house with purpose, pulling weapons from hidden compartments I hadn't known existed. Guns, ammunition, something that looked like a small explosive device. Dante, if your own second in command betrayed you, how do you know the others won't? Because Salvatore was old guard. He never accepted my leadership after my father died. But Luca, he's loyal. They all are. Salvatore's betrayal will only strengthen that loyalty. He handed me a gun smaller than the one I'd used in the garage. Lighter. Safety's here. Point and shoot. Just like before. My hands shook taking it. I don't want to kill anyone else. Then aim for center mass and hope they're wearing vests. He cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. I need you to hide in the bathroom. Lock the door. Don't come out until I come for you. No, Isabella, I'm not hiding while you fight my battles. Not anymore. This isn't your battle. Yes, it is. It became mine the moment I knelt at my mother's grave. The moment those men shot at us. Every choice you've made to protect me has been my battle too. He stared at me, conflict warring across his face. Then he kissed me hard, fast, desperate. Stay behind me, he ordered. Do exactly what I say. And if something happens to me, nothing will happen to you. If something happens, he continued, you take the SUV keys and drive to the address I'm about to give you. My lawyer. He'll protect you, get you out of the city, give you a new identity if necessary. Dante, promise me. I promise. He rattled off an address, made me repeat it twice. Then he positioned us in the kitchen, behind the counter. With clear sight lines to both entrances, we waited. 3 minutes passed. 4. The silence was suffocating. Then I heard it, cars pulling up outside, doors opening, footsteps on the porch. Danny's hand found mine, squeezed once, then let go. The front door exploded inward. 4 men rushed in, weapons raised. Dante fired 3 times, dropping 2. The others scattered, returning fire. And bullets tore through the kitchen cabinets above our heads. Then our backup arrived. The windows shattered as Danny's men came through fast, coordinated, overwhelming. Gunfire erupted from every direction. I pressed myself flat against the floor, my ears ringing, my heart trying to punch through my ribs. Second wave. Someone shouted. More attackers poured through the back door. More of Dandy's men countered from the sides. The small house became a war zone, and I couldn't track who was winning. Dante moved like violence incarnate, shooting, reloading, never wasting emotion. A man came at him from the side, and Dante dropped his empty gun, caught the attacker's wrist, twisted, and used the man's own weapon against him. Then I saw him, Salvatore, moving through the chaos toward the kitchen, toward us. His gun raised, aimed at Danny's back. Dante. I screamed. He turned, but too slow. Salvatore's finger tightened on the trigger. I didn't think. Just raised my gun and fired. The bullet caught Salvatore in the leg. He went down, his shot going wide, and suddenly Dante was there, his gun pressed to the older man's temple. Give me one reason, Dante growled. Salvatore laughed, bitter, defeated. Because you're weak. Just like your father. Sentimental. She's made you soft, boy. No, Danny's voice was ice. She's made me remember why I'm fighting, what I'm protecting. Then do it. Pull the trigger. Prove you're still Crusoe. Dante's finger tensed on the trigger. I saw the war in his eyes, everything he was raised to be versus everything he wanted to become. I thought of my mother, of her kindness, of the choice she'd made to save a wounded stranger in an alley. Dante, I said softly, you don't have to. He betrayed me, got Nico killed, nearly got you killed. I know, but killing him won't bring Nico back, won't change what happened. I moved closer, careful not to startle him. My mother showed you mercy once. She gave you a second chance. Maybe that's the debt you really owe her. Not protection, but becoming someone who chooses life over death when he can. The silence stretched. Around us, the fighting had stopped. Danny's men had secured the house, were hauling away bodies, tending wounds. Finally, Dante lowered his gun. Luca, he called. Take him. Lock him up. He lives, but he's finished in this city. Spread the word Salvatore is exiled. Anyone who helps him answers to me. It was a punishment worse than death in their world. Salvatore's face crumpled. They dragged him away, and Dante turned to me. His hands were shaking just slightly, but enough that I noticed. Did I just make a mistake? He asked quietly. No, you made a choice. The hard one. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. Around us, his men moved with efficient purpose, cleaning up the aftermath. But for this moment, it was just us. What happens now? I whispered against his chest. Now we rebuild. Make it clear that the Crusoes don't fall to betrayal. That we're stronger than they thought. He pulled back, looking down at me. And you go home, back to your life. What if I don't want to? Isabella, what if my life is here now? With you? He searched my face, and I saw hope, war, with fear in his eyes. You don't know what you're saying. This world, what I am, I know exactly what I'm saying. I've seen you at your worst and your best. And I'm choosing to stay. Why? Because you kissed me like I mattered. Because you showed mercy when you didn't have to. Because my mother saw something worth saving in you. And so do I. He kissed me then, soft and searching and full of promise. When we pulled apart, sirens wailed in the distance. We need to go, Luca said, appearing in the doorway. Dante nodded, but his eyes never left mine. Together? I took his hand. Together. We walked out of that bullet-riddled house into the cold February dawn. I didn't know what came next, what it meant to love a man like Dante Crusoe, to choose his dark and complicated world. But I knew one truth my mother had learned 15 years ago in a different alley, with a different wounded man. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is show mercy, and sometimes it saves you both.